Hello everyone, welcome back to Train Simulator 2019. We're here on Donner Pass in the process of modernizing this route. Today's focus is going to be the road system, and I'm going to say that loosely because after this speed build, I didn't complete every single road in Reno and Sparks yard. You guys will see at the end, there's a lot of things that still need to be completed, still need to be finished, and I think I will do a lot of that outside of recording, just for the sake of it's very time consuming. And that goes, it kind of goes along with this episode as well, where I'm surprised I got 20 minutes of footage out of just putting roads down, and it's partially because I'm picky with a lot of this stuff, and I don't know. It's really hard to explain. Yeah, it's mostly because I'm being picky, and I want to make sure that everything is pretty much exact to what it is in real life, or at least as close to being exact. And that goes along with the road system here. You know, making sure you guys can see right here. I'm being really picky about how straight and how perfectly aligned a lot of these roads splines are, I guess you can call them. So yeah, but you guys will see there's a lot of things like bridges that aren't complete, like the bridge details, and I didn't complete a lot of other roads, like a lot of these on-ramps and exit ramps you guys see. I didn't complete those in this video, but I just kind of got the basic roads down just to get them out of the way. So yeah, I'll be sure before the next episode, whatever I do outside of recording, I'll be sure I show that at the start of the video, and then we will get into the next part of the build. But yeah, we're hanging out here in, again, Reno, Nevada, and just beside Sparks yard. You see here is one of the highway systems that I'm working on. This was a very big, I guess, unrealistic aspect of the route was the highway systems. First off, the Donner Pass roads were pretty poorly created. Nothing looked realistic whatsoever. I'm using Stevens Pass roads just like I am with the track. I think it's the most realistic assets that have been made for TS1. So yeah, I'm using Stevens Pass track, or excuse me, Stevens Pass, well yeah, Stevens Pass track and road to complete a lot of what you guys see on the map. But like I was saying, yeah, so the highway system, well, yeah, the road decals were very unrealistic, but the highway systems in general were really off. So like this part, this road here where the tracks go over the road, that's realistic, but the highway system right next to that, that's actually supposed to be way more raised up, and I do raise it up. I just, you know, put those splines down just to get started with. But on the original base route, it wasn't raised, it was at ground level. So it's small things like that, and it's not, I think it's, yeah, it's one of those roads that go east to west there that actually went over what was supposed to be that highway, and in turn supposed to go under. So it's just kind of small things like that that didn't really make the original route that realistic. Alright, so yeah, so, I mean, there's really not much going on in this video. Again, I'm surprised I got 20 minutes out of this footage. I think part of it is I should have sped up a lot of these clips. I tried to delete as many pieces of clips where, as you can see here, I'm deleting props. This is probably the only clip here where I show you deleting props. But it's just pretty much laying road down. There's not too much to talk about. But there's some things like this where there's some things not realistic. Like, you see there where the road spline, the original road spline kind of turned right there. Technically doesn't do that. And I don't know how well I'm going to detail anything that far out because it's so far away from the tracks. So, you know, we'll see how I feel when we get to that point. Alright, so here we go. We got some action. So here's working on this road going underneath the track and then that highway. I wish I knew what route it was. I think it's Interstate 90. Maybe it goes through there. I'll have to check the maps again. But the original route, I felt like the road that went underneath the tracks here was really low to the ground. So actually, before laying this track down, I raised up the ground level, and even here I still feel like maybe I could raise the road up just a little bit more. It's really hard to depict, you know, that depth on a game or a simulator like this. Really, it's hard to get that you know, that scaling correct. And even at this point here, it seemed like maybe the road was a little bit too high. But I went for the semi-truck trick, and it actually seemed pretty good. I feel like the kind of the depth of what the bridge will be won't necessarily hit that semi, but I decided to, you know, lower the road anyways, and I think that gives us enough clearance there. So when we do add the bridge asset there, it should still clear the traffic. So yeah, we continue working our way north on this little stretch. This is one of those areas where if you go to the street view through Google Maps, it's kind of hard to decipher the, you know, the depth and such of the roads, you know, and how much the roads, you know, incline and stuff. So this is one of those areas where it's really tough to depict that. I try to make the road as gradual as possible. There is a smoothing gradient tool, but I'm not going to use that until I'm absolutely like set on where I want these roads to be. So I just use the gradient tool to, you know, adjust those road heights, and then I'll use the gradient smoothing tool to get that smooth road down. So here's that road I was talking about. That is the road on the original route where it actually went over the highway system, and in turn we're going to make sure that goes underneath the highway. You can also see I'm using four-way. I think it's called four-way road there. It's kind of hard to model the roads exactly to what they are in real life, because there's a lot of roads where you get that extra turn lane in the center, or when you get to the intersections you have the left turn lanes as well. Sometimes there's also the extra right turn lane, just so there's through traffic that can get through under a red light. So there's a lot of things like that it's hard to depict in the route. I think that road underneath there where the semi-truck is, it is a 2-lane road further down, but I just kept it a 4-lane road just to kind of show that it's a very populated route through there. So here we're working on the highway, and as you can see, it's a little bit too low to that semi, so I decided to raise it up just a little bit more there. And the bottom, it's not really bottom right, but on the bottom there is a little height indicator. It shows the height from sea level. So obviously, since we're inland, our height there is crazy high. I actually don't even know if that's in like meters or feet. It's probably in meters if I would have to take a guess. But I'm kind of using that to level out the road. You see there, the gradient tool is really tough. So there's a cool thing with the gradient feature there, where you can snap that gradient feature to like a nearby spline asset, and you can, you know, raise 2 of them at the same time. But there's things like that where if you're at the wrong camera angle, it connects to splines you don't want it to connect to. So you just have to like right click it to make sure it doesn't do that. I think it was about to snap onto the tracks next to it, which I didn't want happening. But yeah, again, it's one of those things where I think Trains has a better editor than Train Simulator does. But, you know, you just got to deal with it. It's just kind of one of those things. So we continue eastward here on this interstate. Here's a part where, again, on the original route, they didn't depict what you guys will see here in a little bit. But it's just another road, local road going through the highway, or underneath the highway, and also underneath the tracks. So you guys will see that here in a bit. I finally used the, what tool is this? I guess it's the terrain snap tool, where you snap the terrain to the spline or to the tracks or to any buildings there, and you see I'm kind of adjusting there, the embankment and such, to get it perfect. Here's one of these Okay, so yeah, you can snap the terrain to your splines and buildings and such like that, but there are also assets for embankment, and I think there's a lot of routes where they use this grass embankment tool or concrete embankment spline, I guess you can say, where instead of snapping the terrain, you just apply that spline down, and honestly, I think it's a lot cleaner and smoother looking than it is snapping terrain to your roads. So it's like you'll see right here, I snapped the terrain here to, you know, this part here, but it's hard to smooth out that terrain underneath the bridge. You guys will see later on, there is a portion where it just doesn't look right. You can see here, yeah, it's really rough, and it's just kind of one of those things where maybe I should have used those embankment splines instead of trying to snap the terrain to that. So I'll see how I feel. Maybe I'll fix that later on, see how that goes. So here's the one road I was talking about here that was not modeled in the original route, but that's this little road system that goes underneath the tracks. It's just at the Sparks yard entry and exit there. Actually, it's funny though, it was on the second try of flattening that down. I think I got a good depth there with the road, but you see just, yeah, this road goes right through there, and it wasn't modeled originally. So we're just making sure we put that in. I think that's going to be a big part of this route too, is just any small roads like that near the tracks, you know, making sure that those are realistic. And this is one of those, yeah, this is one of those spots where I feel like I should have used those embankment splines, because you got the terrain right here that I just snapped to the highway system. And you guys will see here in a bit that it's hard to snap terrain when you have multiple road splines going through. It gets really annoying. It's hard to work with, and it's hard to clean it up after the fact. So yeah, just working on this. We're just adjusting the height here. Again, it's just kind of, it's one of those things where I don't know what to do. I don't know what's a good height for a lot of these. And there's so many roads going on through there too. You can see on the map there's, well, okay, you have the on-ramp and exit ramp coming up from the highway, but then you have another like exit road coming off the highway that goes further down into like that parking lot area and along the tracks. That too needs to be raised above the road as well. So there's so much depth and height going on through here that it's really tricky to replicate. As you see here, just continuing this road down here. There's going to be more deleting of props, I think, down that way. I mean, that's pretty much the entire route. Really, it's just deleting a ton of props. Yeah, there you go. So you can see snapping the terrain on. First of all, I had to kind of adjust it there so it wasn't glitching into the road. But then, yeah, it's really hard to smooth all that out and make it look perfect and clean. So I'll definitely have to touch that up on my own time. But here we are just laying more road. Again, I'm using the Stevens Pass road because I think that just looks, it's the most realistic. It looks exactly like the roads from Google Maps. It's colored correctly. The size of the lines and the width between those lines I think are perfect. So I'll be using Stevens Pass road assets for I think all the roads that I update. So you can see here I continue the road underneath the highway and actually change the gradient there on the bottom left just so the road peaks up from behind. And that actually wasn't too bad. That really helped me see the road on the other side, and then I just use the gradient tool there to adjust it to the gradient height that I want. And I kind of adjust it there. And you'll see here right in a second I go to the terrain snap, and you see it snaps onto at first the bottom road, but then it snaps onto the interstate there. So yeah, and then I go to the level tool, and then it's just a mess. That's the one thing I hate about the editor here in Train Simulator. It's really hard to work with the terrain. It's also really blocky too. You can see there's a lot of corner points as well, and I think in trains it's much smoother too. It's not like the train isn't locked onto like a grid kind of system. On trains it's pretty free. The train can do whatever you want it to do. Here it's based off of the original grid on the map, so it's kind of hard to work with that. So here is that highway, or not highway, the local road system through there. We're kind of working our way back westward into Reno. There's something about this area that I personally like, probably because, well, I'm completely redoing it, which is nice, and because the original route poorly depicted this area. There's actually like 3 crossing grades that it doesn't even, oh no, well, there are many crossing grades, but none of them were in the correct spot. But there's 3 that I finally put together. I already put that one road across back there. And then here's another road that goes through here. I think this was depicted in the route, but it wasn't depicted correctly. As you can see here, there's supposed to be that bridge over by the river there. And they didn't depict that whatsoever. So putting the road down there was pretty nice. Again, I'm being really picky about making sure that all the roads are correct to what they are on the maps. Again, I shouldn't be doing that, but you know, it'll get to me eventually when I realize this is super time consuming, that, yeah, I probably shouldn't be very picky on the roads. Over here, I had a hard time figuring out what road I needed to use. It looked like on Google Maps, part of the road had a yellow line through like one portion of the road, and then the other portion, there were no lines. So I decided to just use one with one yellow line. This road here didn't have any, I don't think. I'm trying to see, what did I place down? Yeah, that one didn't have any lines through that. But I continue that down, and it's just, you know, these are really small minor roads too. There's not heavy traffic through there. However, there's like a lot of businesses and such, which, you know, makes it stand out. Got a little roundabout there as well. I think in the original route there was a crossing there. But obviously there isn't anymore because the track has to change elevation over there, which we will probably get to in the next episode because I'm already tired of talking about the roads. So we'll make sure we get to more trackage and building laying in the next episode. But yeah, just continuing to, I don't know. Again, it's really hard to do these voiceovers here, especially in such a boring episode like this. Where I personally don't like the road splines and, you know, how the train works. So this is kind of one of those episodes where, gosh, I'm glad I'm getting this over with now. And again, not all the roads are done, and I think I'm going to do a lot of it outside of recording. But you see, I'm just getting the basics down. You know, overall, this wasn't too bad of a video. I'm surprised I've actually talked this far into it for a 20-minute video, but yeah, just adding more roads down. Oh, that was the other thing too. A lot of the crossing grades as well need to be completed, and I'll make sure I do that in a video because some people do have issues with making realistic crossing grades and such, and putting the gates down themselves. So I'll be sure to put those. This highway system right here, before I talked about in the last episode how I did work on another modernizing Donner route, but you know, it accidentally got deleted. I did work on this highway system, and it looked pretty good, but going back to the terrain snapping, I made that mistake with this highway system, so I'll be sure to use those embankment splines. That will probably look better with that. Maybe I'll put that in the video, maybe not, we'll see. But that is all the roads for this route that I want to show in this video. Here is that yard exit right there. And yeah, I still gotta put some bridge details, so I'll determine later on if I want to show the bridge laying there in a separate video, or if I'm just gonna work on it outside. But however, that is it. So it is nicer to see the cleaner and updated roads on this route, as well as realistic roads through there, and making sure they're at the correct height and detail that they are in real life. But that will do it. Thank you guys again for watching. If you want to see more, be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and get notified on these episodes. And I will see you guys in episode 3 of Modernizing Donner Pass.